Singapore has spent a long time trying to manage its population through its reproductive policies. Singapore is quite a small country. There are not that many resources, so its main resource is people and human capital. So in the 1960s and 70s, to say, for example, reduce the birth rate, which was quite high, they had policies to stop at 2 children. And this was aimed to promote more education and career building for women. But in the 1980s, when the birth rate sort of slowed down, they realized we now need to change tact and shift to a pro-natal campaign that really incentivized parenthood. So as a result, there were campaigns to have 3 or more children if you can afford it. And we saw lots of changes to the policy. So for example, abortion and sterilization became much more regulated. Previously, they were very accessible. We saw tax incentives given for the more children that you have. We saw tax breaks. We saw subsidies for childcare, for fertility treatment, and even housing incentives rolled out to try and encourage people to pair up as couples, get married, and start a family. So for example, you'd have access to more housing quotas if you were in a coupled relationship and have a small family, for example. And so all this big boost over 40 years has unfortunately doesn't seem to be working enough to sort of overthrow those previous attitudes that really pushed for education and productivity.
What does the government think about it? The Deputy Prime Minister has labelled it an existential challenge. Why has he described it that way?
Yeah, that's really strong language, isn't it? Part of the strong language is also to signify to the population that we're taking this really seriously, and you should too. But at the end of the day, the existential challenge is because Singapore's population is only 6 million. It's quite small. 2/3 of that is your core Singaporean-born population and the permanent residents who have settled there, and about 2 million of the 6 million is foreign-born residents who work and study in Singapore. And so for the government, it's really important to maintain this stable citizen core, as they'd call it, because that leads to social cohesion and national identity. And when we think about Singapore, yes, it's a big industrious country, highly developed. They need to boost their workforce and get tax revenue from people, and also not shrink with the aging population. But at the same time, people there contributing to tax may not stay to defend the country. That's a big ask. And so what you need is people who identify as Singaporean, who were born there, to stay and fight and defend sovereignty. And so that's why you need people who identify as being core Singaporeans to, funnel through the military service. Singapore does have compulsory military for 18-year-old men, for example. So that's a big part of it.
Really interesting. Gillian, thank you.
Thanks, Yvonne.